Hello, I'm going to read the next chapter of The Little People. Okay, we're on to chapter 14 now. I asked you some questions from the last chapter. See how you got on with those questions, shall we? Give you the answers in a minute. The questions were, why is Pod so upset? So Arrietty says to him, I don't know why you're so upset. The boy wants to help us. And he says, because the boy knows where they live. Okay. Arrietty didn't realise that she'd given some clues. Question number 2. What did Arrietty say she was trying to do? So when she said to Pod, don't know why you're so upset, all I was trying to do was... She said all she was trying to do was save the race of the borrowers. So the boy thinks that they're the only borrowers left in the world. Arrietty doesn't want to believe that, so she wants to do something about it and find her uncle and auntie, so at least there'll be 2 families together. And then right at the end of the chapter, Pod says, what does Pod say they should do after supper? He says they should have a good night's rest. So, yeah, what happened last time? Pod and Homily are very upset with Arrietty. They cross, and they tell her she's put them in great danger, and they'll have to leave. And I think they're all a bit scared about that. And then they all go off to bed. Okay, so chapter 14. I'll read that now. Okay. That night, while Arrietty lay straight and still under her cigar box ceiling, Homily and Pod talked for hours. They talked in the sitting room, they talked in the kitchen, and later, much later, she heard them talk in their bedroom. She heard drawers shutting and opening, doors creaking, and boxes being pulled out from under beds. What are they doing? She wondered. What will happen next? Very still she lay in her soft little bed with her familiar belongings about her. Her postage stamp view of Rio Harbour, her silver pig off a charm bracelet, her turquoise ring which, sometimes for fun, she would wear as a crown, and dearest of all, her floating ladies with the golden trumpets tooting above their peaceful town. She did not want to lose these, she realised suddenly, lying there straight and still in bed, but to have all the other things as well, adventure and safety mixed, that was what she wanted. And that, the restless bangings and whisperings told her, is just what you couldn't do. As it happened, Homily was only fidgeting, opening drawers and shutting them, unable to be still, and she ended up, when Pod was already in bed, by deciding to curl her hair. Now, Homily, Pod protested wearily, lying there in his nightshirt, there's really no call for that. He's going to see you. That's just it, exclaimed Homily, searching in a drawer for her curl rags. In times like these one never knows. I'm not going to get caught out, she said irritably, turning the drawer upside down and picking over the spilled contents, with me hair looking like this. She came to bed at last, looking spiky. Homily also lay for a long time staring at the oil lamp. It was a silver cap of a scent bottle with a tiny floating wick. She felt unwilling, for some reason, to blow it out. There were movements upstairs in the kitchen above, and it was late for movements. The household should be asleep, and the lumpy curlers pressed uncomfortably against her neck. She gazed, just as Arrietty had done, about the familiar room, and thought, what now? Perhaps nothing will happen after all. The child, perhaps, is right, and we're making a good deal of fuss about nothing, very much. This boy, when all's said and done, is only a guest. Perhaps, thought Homily, he'll go away again quite soon, and that, she told herself drowsily, will be that. Homily got off to sleep, and then she woke up. She saw the room again, and the oil lamp flickering, but something she knew at once was different. There was a strange draught, and her mouth felt dry and full of grit. Then she looked up at the ceiling. "God!" she shrieked, clutching his shoulder. Pod rolled over and sat up. They both stared at the ceiling. The whole surface was on a steep slant, and one side of it had come right away from the wall. This was what had caused the draught, and down into the room, to within an inch of the foot of the bed, protruded a curious object, a huge bar of grey steel with a flattened, shining edge. "It's a screwdriver," said Pod. They stared at it, fascinated, unable to move, and for a moment all was still. Then slowly the huge object swayed upwards until the sharp edge lay against their ceiling, and Homily heard a scrape on the floor above and a sudden human gasp. "Oh, my knees!" cried Homily. "Oh, my feeling!" As with a splintering wrench their whole roof fell off, and fell down with a clatter somewhere out of sight. Homily screamed then, but this time it was a real scream, loud and shrill and hearty. She seemed almost to settle down in her scream, while her eyes stared up, half interested, into the empty, lighted space. There was another ceiling, she realised, away up above them, higher, it seemed, than the sky. A ham hung from it, and 2 strings of onions. Arrietty appeared in the doorway, scared and trembling, clutching her nightgown, and Pod slapped Homily's back. "Have done," he said. "That's enough." And Homily suddenly was quiet. A great face appeared then between them and that terrible height. It wavered above them, smiling and terrible. There was a silence, and Homily sat bolt upright, her mouth open. "Is that your mother?" asked a surprised voice after a moment, and Arrietty from the doorway whispered, "Yes." It was the boy. Pod got out of bed and stood beside it, shivering in his nightshirt. "Come on," he said to Homily. "You can't stay there." But Homily could. She had her old nightdress on with the patch in the back, and nothing was going to move her. A slow anger was rising up in Homily. She had been caught in her hair-curlers. Pod had raised his hand to her, and she remembered that, in the general turmoil, and for once in her life, she had left the supper washing up for morning, and there it would be on the kitchen table for all the world to see. She glared at the boy. He was only a child after all. "Put it back," she said. "Put it back at once." Her eyes flashed and her curlers seemed to quiver. He knelt down then, but Homily did not flinch as the great face came slowly closer. She saw his underlip, pink and full, like an enormous exaggeration of Arrietty's, and she saw it wobble slightly. But I've got something for you," he said. Homily's expression did not change, and Arrietty called out from her place in the doorway, "What have you got?" The boy reached behind him, and very gingerly, careful to keep it upright, he held a wooden object above their heads. "It's this," he said, and carefully, his tongue out and breathing heavily, he lowered the object slowly into their hole. It was a doll's dresser, complete with plates. It had 2 drawers in it and a cupboard below. He adjusted its position at the foot of Homily's bed. Arrietty ran round to see better. "Oh!" she cried ecstatically. "Mother, look!" Homily threw the dresser a glance. It was dark oak, and the plates were hand-painted. And then she looked quickly away again. "Yes," she said coldly, "it's very nice." There was a short silence, which no one knew how to break. "The cupboard really opened," said the boy at last, and the great hand came down all among them, smelling of bath soap. Arrietty flattened herself against the wall, and Pod exclaimed, nervous, "Now then." "Yes," agreed Homily, after a moment. "I see it does." Pod drew a long breath, a sigh of relief as the hand went back. "There, Homily," he said placatingly. "You've always wanted something like that." "Yes," said Homily. She still sat bolt upright, her hands clasped in her lap. "Thank you very much. And now," she went on coldly, "will you please put back the roof?" Wait a minute, pleaded the boy. Again he reached behind him. Again the hand came down, and there, beside the dresser, where there was barely room for it, was a very small doll's chair. It was a Victorian chair, upholstered in red velvet. "Oh!" Arrietty exclaimed again, and Pod said shyly, "Just about fit me, that would." "Try it," begged the boy, and Pod threw him a nervous glance. "Go on," said Arrietty, and Pod sat down, in his nightshirt, his bare feet showing. "That's nice," he said after a moment. "It would go by the fire in the sitting-room," cried Arrietty. "It would look lovely on the red blotting paper." "Let's try it," said the boy, and the hand came down again. Pod sprang up just in time to steady the dresser as the red velvet chair was whisked away above his head and placed presumably in the next room but one. Arrietty ran out of the door and along the passage to see. "Oh!" she called out to her parents, "come and see, it's lovely." But Pod and Hominy did not move. The boy was leaning over them, breathing hard, and they could see the middle buttons of his nightshirt. He seemed to be examining the further room. "What do you keep in that mustard pot?" he asked. "Coal," said Arrietty's voice, "and I helped to borrow this new carpet. Here's the watch I told you about, and the pictures." "I could get you some better stamps than those," the boy said. "I've got some Jubilee ones with the Taj Mahal." "Look!" cried Arrietty's voice again, and Pod took Homily's hand. "These are my books." Homily clutched Pod as the great hand came down once more in the direction of Arrietty. "Quiet," he whispered. "Sit still." The boy, it seemed, was touching the books. "What are they called?" he asked, and Arrietty reeled off the names. "Pod," whispered Homily, "I'm going to scream." "No," whispered Pod, "you mustn't, not again." "I'm feeling it coming on," said Homily. Pod looked worried. "Hold your breath," he said, "and count 10. The boy was saying to Arrietty, "Why couldn't you read me those?" "Well, I could," said Arrietty, "but I'd rather read something new." "But you never come," complained the boy. "I know," said Arrietty, "but I will." "Pod," whispered Homily, "did you hear that? Did you hear what she said?" "Yes, yes," Pod whispered. "Keep quiet." "Do you want to see the storerooms?" Arrietty suggested next, and Homily clapped a hand to her mouth as though to stifle the cry. Pod looked up at the boy. "Hey!" he called, trying to attract his attention. The boy looked down. "Put the roof back on now," Pod begged him, trying to sound matter-of-fact and reasonable. "We're getting cold." "All right," agreed the boy. But he seemed to hesitate. He reached across them for the piece of board which formed their roof. "Shall I nail you down?" he asked, and they saw him pick up the hammer. It swayed above them, very dangerous looking. "Of course nail us down," said Pod irritably. "I mean," said the boy, "I've got some more things upstairs." Pod looked uncertain, and Homily nudged him. "Ask him," she whispered. "What kind of things?" What kind of things?" asked Pod. "The things from an old doll's house there is on the top shelf of the cupboard by the fireplace in the schoolroom." "I've never seen no doll's house," said Pod. Well, it's in the cupboard," said the boy, "right up by the ceiling. You can't see it, and you've got to climb on to the lower shelves to get to it." "What sort of things are in the doll's house?" asked Pod. "Oh, everything," the boy told her. "Carpets and rugs and beds with mattresses, and there's a bird in a cage, not a real one, of course, and cooking pans and tables and gilt chairs and a pot with a palm in it." Homily leaned across to Pod. "Tell him to nail us down lightly," she whispered. Pod stared at her, but she nodded vigorously, clasping her hands. Pod turned to the boy. "All right," he said. "You nail us down, but lightly, if you see what I mean. Just a tap or two here and there." So, it's chapter 14 done. It's exciting, wasn't it? So the boy has come to visit them and given them some furniture. It's Homily always wanted, hasn't she? Okay, so the questions for next time. Question number 1. What did the boy use to get the floorboards up? Okay. Question number 2. What was the first piece of furniture the boy put down in their bedroom? And then question number 3. What colour was the chair the boy got for Pod? Okay. Hope you get on alright with those. And then we'll read the next chapter next time. Okay, cheerio for now.